evening, SRA Nation.
We're excited to get this season off with a bang.
I think they're all taking tires. And on top of that, it's going to be saucier. It's going to be an all-out shootout to the end. He's got line of sight on these guys.
I commend you for the bravery getting this close to the diffuser.
All you gotta do is win the race. You don't have to lead a whole bunch of laps.
Oh, they're going to be side by side going into the next corner.
Oh, that's a big contact in the back of the field.
Can't stay out there like this.
He stayed in it!
We're off and away for SRA.
Good evening, ladies and gents. We are here for Season 10, Division 1. Welcome to your broadcast tonight. I'm Dudley Do-Right. With me is Maxie Poe, and we are ready to kick off this season with a bang. We have some returning drivers with us that are sure to excite and delight, and we are looking forward to sharing all the awesome action with you this evening. Maxie, what are you excited about this season?
I got to tell you, another brand new season of D1, and I'm just seeing if Michael Manning can show that same pace he had last year. Coach Romo had a great finish to this season last year. I'm going to see if he can carry that momentum in. I'm just anxious to see these guys get out of here and duke it out again.
Absolutely, absolutely. We are looking forward to some awesome action, and we have a great track to get started on this season. We are starting things off at Kyalami in Sandton, South Africa. It's about 4.5 kilometers around. That's 2.8 miles for us here in the US of A. We got 16 turns crammed in there. Most cars don't even get up to 6th gear on this track, so it's not a super high speed track, but some very tricky corners, some great overtaking spots. Maxie, where do you see the most overtaking action happening out there tonight?
I'm going to stay away from the obvious choice of the real turn 1, labeled turn 2 here on our track map. But as you enter sector 3 out of the hairpin at the top of the hill, if you can get a good exit out of there and carry that speed down and get a good draft into turn 13, there's so many different lines into there that will produce the same lap time. I'm going to be looking at turn 13 to see who can make a pass.
All right. We will find out what is happening out there tonight. But before we jump to the action, we have a big thank you that needs to go out to some of the people that make this possible. And we just want to thank our sponsors here at our SRA title sponsors and our supporters here at SRA. And we also want to thank our affiliates with support from people like Documise, which is a modern business solution for product management. Go to documise.com to learn more today. And we have support from Retro Saga, a North American-based gaming company that provides accessories for your favorite classic systems, including Nintendo, Sega, PlayStation, and much more. Enhance your retro gaming experience today at retrosaga.ca. We want to make a big thank you out to our affiliate sponsors as well, Track Racer, Armentario, and Go Setups. Track Racer will help you experience redefined gaming with high-quality sim rigs and accessories. Use the code SRATE at checkout to support us. Also, check out Armentario, which is a toolbox for ACC that will enhance your chance to win. I use it. It's made me faster. I enjoy the game more, the sim more. Sorry, everyone. And it will help you set up a fully customizable, enhanced heads-up display to just change everything about the way you drive. Also, go check out Go Setups, premium esports setups for everyone. Use our affiliate link on the Discord and take your drive to the next level. With that, folks, we are going to jump over to our race action. Here we are with the Season 10 drivers taking the track with some qualifying laps. Our gold drivers are already headed out for their warm-up laps, and we will see what they can do this evening. We have Mr. Ziedler out here on track already. He seems to be leading the fray out onto the track. So Our silver drivers, pardon me, I think I said gold drivers before. Our silver drivers are out on track now, warming up the cars, warming up the tires. And we have some great teams to introduce to you this season. We have some really gifted guys that got together and should make for a tough championship battle for a lot of these guys. We have last season's champion, Michael Manning, teamed up with Mr. Sir, both resident SRA aliens teamed up together, driving the BMW GT3, and that should be an exciting pairing to watch, no question about it. I'm also very interested to see what Travis Robinson and Matthew Schwartz do. They're driving the McLaren 720S GT3 Evo this season, which still seems to be a very strong car, one of the metas here in ACC. Also, a big shout out to Nate Specht and Matt Lehman, as they are also driving the BMW, and we expect big things out of them. Our resident go-kart champion, Brooker Quigg, it's teamed up with Patrick Rust, a couple of Canadian boys there, D1 Silver. They will be a strong contender in the Porsche. Maxie, what teams are you looking for out there? I seem to have lost Maxie for some reason. Let me check my properties here. It could be that we have an issue. Maxie, you with us, buddy?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Oh, okay, good deal. So, big team I'm looking out for is Peter O'Brien and Jordan Nixon. They're both SRA aliens, and they're driving the Audi R8. Delving pretty deep into the lap times, because that was the car we were thinking about running this season in Division 2, but it's pretty low on the totem pole across pretty much all racing platforms. So I'm anxious to see what kind of pace they can get out of this car, and also the team name, Audi This World. Yeah,
Fantastic team name. Fantastic team name.
Creative. And then again, Michael Manning and Mr. Sir in the M4. We know the M4 is always quick, but Michael Manning last season, was in the Acura or Honda NSX, depending on where you live. Transferring from that mid-engine car to the front engine, is he going to lose any of that pace? All to be determined, but those are the two teams I'm really going to be looking out for this season.
Fantastic stuff. I'm sure they will not fail, or they will not disappoint. And we will be filling you guys in with all the action behind the scenes and trying to keep it on screen for you at the same time. We will see some guys that didn't return this season. There's a big story with Ed Kerstetter not being back for this season. It's a very strong driver and contender in last season's championship. But that happens. There's guys out here, get their schedules get full, and they have to make decisions on what they're going to do for their sim racing concentration. And you don't want to enter a series and not be able to be fully participating. So we totally respect that for those guys. We do already have some lap times coming in. These guys are already down into the mid 141s towards the top in our silver driver class. We have a 141.6 out of Drebs already, taking the provisional pole here right off the bat.
Yeah, the front engine cars, even in the practice races, we're looking really strong around here. And it's not really a track you would think they would do incredibly well at, considering the high-speed corners, which usually generates understeer in those front engine cars, but they seem to be coping with it very well. I'm not sure if it's the long straightaways we have here. Pretty much 3 straightaways where you can get up to the top of 5th gear and sometimes even into 6th. So I'm anxious to see how they'll fare through the race.
It will be a battle. We know that. These D1 drivers never disappoint in their ability to race side by side with one another, and we are looking forward to seeing a lot of that tonight. We see Mr. Marecki move himself into the pole position now. He jumped up there with a 141.582, and we'll see who else battles for that provisional pole spot. I would expect to see laps in the 140s this evening, and I would expect our pole time to definitely be 140.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We're only one division lower, but it's a struggle to get into the 141s around here, and to see these guys come out and immediately go into the 41s, it just really shows their class and why they deserve to be in D1. And I just can't wait to see how this race is going to play. I know we got to do qualifying first, but I know last season we were really focused on the strategies that we saw, and it was different strategies. We had guys pitting at the very start that would be challenging for wins. We had guys waiting until that 5 to 10 minute window to go to pit, and we had guys pitting midfield, or mid-race, that would be challenging for the wins. It's just incredible how much time and effort these guys put into these races every week.
Yeah, it really is great to see them be at the top of their craft, and we do have our silver drivers already getting down to the bottom of the 141s. Danny Durant's putting in a fantastic lap at a 141.04. And if any of these other silver drivers want to wrestle that pole away from them, they're going to pretty much have to go into the 140s.
Yeah, I mean, Kelvin Lau is up 2/10 right now, which would almost put him into the 40s. But the Breeze here, he was on a really good lap, lost a bit of time there, but had his delta stayed the same, that's a 140 lap. It's incredible what these guys can do with the car.
We got Brooker Quigg out there on a burner right now as well. He's up over a 10th on his previous best lap, and that would put him into the 140s and on the poles. Seems to be losing a little bit of time back now. He didn't get quite as good a run down that straight, but he's clawing it back through this corner.
Really good through sector 3 here. It's going to be the I don't want to misname the corner, but I believe it's turn 13. It's a very fast right with a sausage curve right on the apex. And if you get a little too greedy and turn it too early there, it will just spit you out, and you're driving the car out of the ground with traffic. So you'll
Absolutely.
lose 20 seconds trying to find a couple tenths.
If not, get into the wall and end your laps completely for this qualifying session. As our qualifying for the first 10 minutes gets towards the end here now, our silver drivers will get their final laps recorded, and our gold drivers will soon take the track at the 10-minute mark, and we will see what they can do out here. As it stands right now, we still have Durant's on the pole with a 141.05, but we still have some guys challenging. It seems like a lot of guys are struggling to finish the lap out those last couple of corners, as we see Brooker Quigg having some struggles halfway through his lap attempt there. We got Jordan Troxclair down here in the McLaren, and he's putting in a lap right now, but he seemed to get a little bit up on the curbing there. It looks like he's going to lose some time from that as he tries to get. He's a little wide there. I would almost think no, it doesn't say he invalidated his lap. I'm surprised, but it was close, and he will finish out his lap. He will improve just a tiny bit. We'll see that. Yes, that moves him up to 6th position now. Mr. Louie back here.
Very generous with track limit.
Yeah,
on
they
the
are.
exit of the corner.
They in some places, although in the left-right combo going up the hill to the hairpin, that I found is a track limit gotcha right there. It can be very easy to go just a little bit wide there, and you'll have a problem very quickly.
I do believe Brooker Quigg had an incident. He's down 16 seconds right now in his delta. I saw a yellow flag pop up on him, but by the time I got over to him, he already recovered it. So must have had a little bit of an off-track excursion.
Yeah, I believe he did. I thought we caught that on camera, but might have been again. So let's see. Marecki just put in one heck of a lap, tied the pole time exactly to the 1,000th. So we have two 141.045s. The way that tie is decided is whoever put the lap in first. So Durant's will take our provisional silver pole right now, and we are just about time to have our gold drivers roll out of the pits. Now, the silver drivers can continue the lap they are on when we hit the 10-minute mark, but they have to have already crossed the start-finish line. So anybody that hasn't gotten to the start-finish line right now is done with their qualifying after the lap they complete. Otherwise, they will be able to complete the lap they are on.
Tomato here was up 3/10, losing a little bit of time here. But I tell you, Schwartz right now up 3/10 coming out of the final corner. Keeping it together. Where does he land?
He will move up a couple of positions with that lap. Oh, just, yep, up to
I think
15th.
he invalidated. He was let's see, he was 14th, and he must have invalidated somewhere on that lap towards the end.
Yeah, we've got people moving around all over the place as the last silver drivers complete their laps. The gold drivers are on track now, headed out to warm up the cars and the tires. We do have Brooker Quigg trying one more attempt here as he slings the Porsche around the final few corners. He is up on his lap, but he's losing time in the final corner and gets into the
He's
wall.
gonna get it.
Oh, no.
Oh no.
And that will end that attempt.
America here, 40.8.
Yeah.
Aston Martin.
Mr. Marecki
Incredible.
takes the pole with a boomer lap, and Rust also slid one in there. So did Carpenter. So Durant slips to 4th right at the end of silver qualifying. And with that, let's switch over to our last season champion here, Michael Manning, as he takes the track, warming up the car for his first attempt at qualifying here at Kyalami.
And we have a perfect split here tonight between the gold and silvers. We have looks like 19 silver drivers with us tonight and 18 gold drivers. So almost a half and half field.
Our SRA admins divided them up well this season. We'll see there will be movement later in the season, right up until race 4. They can still make adjustments if somebody's showing drastically different speed than they initially thought they would have for the season, just to keep things as competitive as possible. But our SRA admins, big shout out to them as they do a fantastic job trying to balance out everybody and make for some competitive racing throughout all the divisions. Oh, I'm sorry. I've been misspeaking. Yeah, you're right. Nordstrom was our champion last season. I'm so sorry. Manning was not our season champion. He did put in some very, very strong performances. No discredit to him, but Travis Nordstrom was our D1 champion last season.
With that beautiful P40 Thunderbolt, I do believe, was the livery they were running with the shark face, popularized by a great Navy fighter battalion in World War II.
Yeah, sorry guys. I'll get you with that bottoms up in the chat whenever I can get to it. A little busy right now, but sorry about the misspeak there on our last season champion, guys. We are here to try to tell the story, and I was telling it wrong. Here is our D1 champion returning this year with the number 1 on his Porsche, same livery he was running last year, and we will see what he can pull out this year. That, I believe,
really wide.
Yeah, but he was still on the red. So right there, you can go all the way out to the edge of the red and white curbing and still be in a valid lap. And he will put in his first timed lap here, and he immediately sticks it all the way up in second place with his first lap with a 140.925. Guess he didn't want to change the paint job on the car after doing so well with it last season.
Hey, I mean, would you change your lucky pair of underwear?
Not if I... yeah, I don't know. I did buy new driving shoes right after I won the D4 championship, and maybe that was the problem. I haven't won a race since.
Yeah. Hey, you could be in my shoes, buying a new pair of boots and having never won a race. So...
Yeah, and then having to do a shoey with those and getting blasted for putting a cup in it, you know?
There was no cup. There was no cup. There was a plastic liner. Yeah, I didn't want to ruin the suede.
Yeah, I got you. That's a good point. Coadromo putting in a strong lap here. He's already put in a 141.36, and he is just over 0.3 up on that as he slings his Mercedes around the track. He was in the Audi last season, and he's changed it up to run in the Mercedes this season. Wow, my camera went all out of control there. Apologize for that. And we are going to see him finish out his lap here as he comes into the final couple of corners.
I'm still showing the track status as fat currently. So even after the silver drivers, when I laid down some rubber so kindly for these gold drivers, we're still not at optimum track status. and we're still in the 140s.
Yeah.
Cannot
we-
be understated how just incredible these guys are behind the wheel.
Indeed. And the temperatures are a little bit cooler from most of the practices we've seen here at down at 21 degrees centigrade. Spangler goes faster. Nordstrom did have the pole. Spangler goes 400ths faster and takes the pole away from him as he slings a McLaren to the top of the grid. We haven't taken a look at McLaren's beautiful livery this time out yet, so there he is, pushing the McLaren, trying to get even faster this lap. He's already up a few hundredths, and we will see how he finishes. We also have Dan Cran back out on the track with this beautiful livery. They did a great job with this one, and our theme this season is fantasy, and thankfully so far everything I've seen, guys have kept it PG with that theme this season. So
Anime can get a little out of hand these days, but it is nice.
Waleed, thanks for joining the chat to farm channel points while you race to make sure you can do lots of bottoms ups on next livery reveal stream. Patches O'Houlihan's calling you out in the chat. He says using a liner results in loss of street cred.
I'll have to take it. All right, I'm gonna have to take this one on the chin. I didn't read the rule,
The fine print,
very well.
We do have Travis Nordstrom stealing the pole back now, down to a 140.345, and these are still in the fast track conditions. We still have not hit optimum track conditions, so pretty incredible what these guys are doing out there right now. All right.
Oh wow, we have Michael Manning up 4/10 right now. Towards the end of the lap.
He is
Absolutely
flying in that BMW. Let's take a ride on board here as he finishes out the lap. There's the curbing on the right that we passed that Maxie was mentioning. You touch that and you are going to have a bad time. Tucks it in nicely on the last corner, gets on the power nice and early on the exit, runs out all the way to the edge of the exit curbing, and comes across the line, 0.3 up, gets down to the 140.16, taking our provisional pole lap with about 2 minutes left here in qualifying. Jump back out and check out some of our other drivers that are making headway up the field. Mr. Alvarado, we haven't taken a look at him yet. He's racing this season in the Honda, and he's putting in a good lap right now. He's about a 10th up on his previous best attempt.
Let's see here. In the practice race Monday night, from first back to, I want to say,
I think it was like
30th position was 1 second.
Wow, all the way to
nose.
30th. No kidding.
I mean, 100th of a second could have gained you multiple places.
Alvarado putting in a really good effort now. He's up almost 3/10 on his previous best, which would move him into second place. Very tight fields we see here throughout SRA. And that was the D1, D2 practice race. We had 50 cars on this little track. It was mayhem. It was nuts, but it was tons of fun. Alvarado does put in that lap and move to second place with a 140.272. Just about a 10th off of our pole sitter, Michael Manning.
Yeah, and even tonight, first back to 28th. 1 second and 27 thousandths of a second. It's incredible how tight these fills are.
And that's why we were down in 36th place or so.
We do not need to tell the world that.
Sorry, that wasn't on the broadcast, everyone. That's, we were illegally moved to D2. Just putting that out there. This is not intention. We don't know what we're doing here.
We are amateurs.
All right, we have Jeff Spangler putting in a heck of a lap now, too. He's about 2/10 up on his previous best. That would move him up into the first 2 rows as he's finishing out this lap.
Corner. I think he's going to take pole.
Oh, he bobbled on the curb a little bit there, but he's still about 3/10 up as he crosses the line and jumps to the front row, second place.
I don't think anybody is going to be able to challenge him right now. Yeah. So
Manning,
that is our front row.
There's your answer, folks. Manning is still on his game. He is going to be a challenger this season. He had one heck of a season last season.
Alvarado right now, up almost 2/10 coming into the final corner.
Ooh, here he comes, folks. We might have a pole challenger if he can get a good exit. He's losing a little bit of time. Can he get across the line? And he does. He pulls out the pole position by 0.03 of a second. And what a finish to our qualifying here as our top. Oh, Manning pulls it back. Manning grabs pole position back at the buzzer with a 140.04. Fantastic qualifying out of these boys tonight. And there is your grid, fellas, as we look. Manning sitting on pole, Alvarado in second, Spangler, Nordstrom, Flamger is your top 5. And we will get you to a grid walk here as we take a look at things from the perspective of being on track. And pleasure to bring this to you guys tonight. Hope you're enjoying the broadcast so far. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that. Hit the like button, all that cool stuff. And Maxie, read down our grid for us as we walk through the grid here and take a look at all these beautiful liveries for season 10 of Division 1.
Yes, sir. We'll go a little slow tonight here with Michael Manning here, first place tonight. Oh, that is a gorgeous livery here on this BMW.
No kidding. Look at that.
That's spectacular. Really enjoying that. And moving on to second place, Alvarado tonight in his NSX, who was just under 1/10 to pole position. Thought he had it there. Moving back onto the second row of the grid tonight, we have Jeff Spangler in a McLaren, followed closely by last season's champion, Travis Nordstrom. Moving back to our third row of the grid, we have Flamger tonight in the Ferrari. That is a change from last season. He raced in the McLaren last season. In sixth place tonight, we have Rados in a beautiful Ferrari. That is, the details this year on the cars is absolutely incredible. All right, moving back to, excuse me here. Seventh place, Mr. Sir, who is our pole sitter's teammate, Neville in the Aston Martin.
Looks like we might have a problem with his livery, but we'll get that loaded for you later, folks.
I'm showing the same thing, so it might have been a upload error here. We have Le Mans in ninth place, and another, it's almost like the 90s, can't remember exactly what they were called, but the BMWs of the 90s that raced all over in the early GT3 series.
Fantastic looking livery.
Yep. All right, here. Not to speed through things, but we will be rolling here shortly. So we have Codromo tonight in 10th place. Dan Cran in the Ferrari. We have Wilson and Cactus in the Mercedes in 12th and 13th. Robinson in the beautiful McLaren. O'Brien in an Audi, top place Audi tonight. Marikai in the Aston Martin. Nixon in the second placed Audi tonight in 17th. Nate Specht here in the BMW. We have Rust in the Porsche. Vasquez in the Mercedes. Carpenter in the Ferrari. Dominic Durant in the Mercedes tonight. Kelvin Lau in the McLaren. We have Louis in the Porsche. Ryder starting 25th in the Aston Martin. Brooker Quigg in the Porsche. Ziedler here in the Porsche starting 27th. DeBreeze in the Aston Martin. Meek in the BMW. Claire in the McLaren, followed by another McLaren, Wilson, followed by Schwartz, followed by Tomato. Starting 34th, we have Matlock in the Porsche, Boardman in the Porsche, Archie in the Aston Martin, Wheeler starting 37th in Beamer, and rounding out the field tonight, we have Brown in the McLaren. Sorry that grid walk took a little longer than usual.
Fantastic job, Maxie. Thanks for breaking it down on our grid today. And we will look forward to watching these cars and getting to know them better as we continue to cover everything for you folks tonight. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you're strapping in for a fantastic race here at our first race here at Kyalami. and we are hoping to bring you all the action. If you have something you want to see, shout it out in the chat. If you're a driver that's not getting enough screen time, that's one of your favorites, let us know, and we will try to get them on the screen. We try to follow the action as close as possible and hope to keep you folks updated as best you can. We are short a guy in the booth, so if you think you can hop up here with us, folks, we'd love to have some more volunteers. We lost our good friend Andrew Anderson. He's still alive and everything, don't worry about that, but we lost him as a broadcaster. He decided to step down for this season to focus more on his racecraft. So we hope to get a third person in the booth if we can, and we'd love to do that just to boost the coverage for you guys as well.
Really anxious to see, being the first race of the season, is there going to be any aggressiveness down into turn one? Not sure. I think every single one of the drivers in this field tonight understands the long game. A 60-minute race. You have to make one pit stop, take 1 liter of fuel. Are they going to risk it into the first corner? Because driving through these high-speed corners will make a difference on tire wear if you're following another car versus being in clean air. So I'm anxious to see how these first few corners really shake out for us.
Yeah, that will be a thing, but we know these D1 drivers, they're nothing but sensible as far as their race strategy and race craft, so I don't think we're going to see too many huge risks into T1, but it is a nice wide entry, so there's plenty of places to dive in there if the guy in front of you leaves the space. And I also know a D1 driver, just as one very famous race car driver said it, if you don't take the gap, you are no longer a race car driver. So these guys are race car drivers, and they have proven that, and we are ready to go here at SRA for season 10 as we come down the front straight, getting ready to start here. We are going to take it into turn 1. You ready to go, Maxie? I'm ready to go.
I'm ready to go. Let's go for season 10.
Manning leads them off the line, and our lights are green. There they go. They're off and racing, folks. Alvarado alongside as they head into T1 down the front straight. Manning's got the run from the inside. He's protecting very closely to that inside apex. We don't have too many people diving inside. We do have it 3 wide, a couple of rows back, and we have some jostling back there, but everybody seems to make it through the corner clean as everybody starts to fall in line to these next tricky corners where being offline will cost you a lot of time. And further back in the pack, we have a few things going on back there. Hopefully we can get a replay of that. I'm going to pull up the PIP so Maxie can hopefully give us a little bit of action from the further back in the field and show us what's going on with some of that stuff as we continue to follow your leaders here up front. Manning has pulled out and cemented his lead on the first lap, but Alvarado is close behind, less than a second gap still between those two. Looks like Coadromo made up a position, or is trying to make up a position, as he and Lehman go side by side still about halfway through the first lap here. They continue to battle. Further back from him, Neville and Fembres Casas is they are still battling side by side, switching positions all the way through the lap, and they are still staying with the car in front of them, which is very impressive. Usually battling side by side for that amount of time ends up costing you quite a bit of time, but they have just now sorted themselves out and look to go single file through the next corner here as we get settled in after lap 1. I don't see too many drivers that lost a ton of positions, although I do see Brooker Quigg, our resident go-kart champion, in the pits, and I'm not sure what happened there. And Boardman looks like he's gotten tapped here going into the penultimate corner. Let's see if we can jump back and take a look at what happened here. It looks like he was side by side as they entered the final couple of corners, and I'm not really even sure what happened there. It looks like he just kind of lost it under braking and then got back on the track, couldn't get it straightened out, and got hit again. So unfortunate incident for him. We got a few people in for pit stops right off the bat.
Yeah, we have a whole bunch of people right now, almost 10 drivers straight into the pit. And I will say real quick, I think he did the correct thing there, understood he was not going to make the corner, and tried to pretty much cut the track. That way he wouldn't interrupt anybody else's race. It was just unfortunate that McLaren was exiting the corner as he came by, but
I agree. I think you're right. I think that's what he's trying to do. It looks like O'Brien led the charge off of the cars that have pitted, so we will keep an eye on him and develop later in the race. These cars that pit early, we will keep track of those who have completed their pit. Oh, I may have misspoken. It looks like Neville actually came out ahead of him from the pit. You can see by the little green mark next to their name there as to which driver is already completed their required pit stop for this race. As Maxie said, everyone is required to pit. They are only required to take 1 liter of fuel. So most of these drivers will just go in, splash and dash, and get out in a stop time of slightly less than 5 seconds. And their total time lost in the pit lane, according to our pit statistics so far, looks to be about 30 seconds, 29 seconds if you're perfect.
Let's see. It looks like Brooker Quick went ahead and fixed the damage on his Porsche, and Ziedler as well. He got the rough end of the deal. There,
Yeah, he sure did.
I think at turn 3. It's a bit weird. There's a kink in the front straightaway that is technically turn 1. And poor Brooker Quick is already a lap down here. He's letting the leaders go by right now on the pitcher-in-pitcher.
We do have quite a few more guys taking a pit stop on their second lap. If these guys are stuck behind a driver that it's going to be difficult to pass, a lot of times they decide to take that pit stop early to try to get some free air and run some quicker laps. Our leaders are out front already doing 141 lap times on their race setups. So they're down in the mid 141s, manning out here, already building the gap to second place, almost up to a second gap.
A really strange thing about the Kyalami racetrack as well is there's very, very little tire degradation. I mean, even with the high-speed corners where you would think it's going to be scrubbing the tires, they seem to be handling that wear very well. I mean, in a 30-minute race, I think we had about 0.2 of a millimeter coming off of the tires. So for those that aren't very familiar with the game, you start with about 3 millimeters of tread depth, and once you get down to 1.5 millimeters of tread depth, the tire is considered to be consumed and will no longer offer meaningful grip. And typically, in an hour-long race, you're looking at about a millimeter or so of degradation. But you will notice that in the car. The car will start to push a little bit into the corners, not giving you the braking performance. When you get on the throttle, it's trying to step out on you. Dudley, do you have any insight on that?
Yeah, some cars are harder on their tires than others too. So your front engine cars are more than likely going to be harder on your front tires, obviously. And your rear engine cars are oftentimes going to get that oversteer on power exit. So we got a tight battle developing here, though, with Coadromo, Dan Cran, and Matt Lehman, as they are all jostling for position through the first part of our track. And we were keeping our close eye on that to see if we can get some side-by-side race and action for you folks. We have a battle further down as well in 18th position with Louis, Rust, and Meeks as they run fairly close together back here. We'll try to keep an eye on all those for you.
All right. So, we're only a little over 6 minutes into this race, and we're already talking about pit strategy, but we've talked about it during qualifying. The strategy that these D1 drivers have is immaculate. So right now, 24th position, Neville here in the Aston Martin is currently about 33 seconds off of our leader. A perfect pit stop is 29 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say real quick, everybody in front of him were to pit, he would come out in 4th place, which would be a lot of positions gained for him. I'm just anxious to see if they can keep up the pace over the course of the race.
Yeah.
Early on, I know they're already in the 141s. I haven't seen it. You'd have to go back to 16th place where they're battling neck and neck for position before you get to the 42s. I just want to know if the tires are going to be able to handle those quick lap times for an hour.
We will find out. It will tell the story. These guys that are pitting early don't really leave themselves much of an option, as we see Goma Wilson had an issue on the penultimate corner, which is easy to do. You get a little wide there, it spits you out into the wall, and He decided to reset to pit, so we're waiting for that. We also had Koadromo pit from 10th position, giving that position up to Travis Robinson as he continues to lap in his McLaren out there. Koa looking maybe for some fresh air to see if he can get some clean running and maybe make that jump later in the race. Koadromo is now the top car of our pitted cars. So it looks like the cars that pitted first and second lap, perhaps they didn't make it. It's not like they made up a ton of time, at least. They didn't, the immediate undercut was not extremely effective. Matlock also jumps to the pit lane, it looks like.
Well, we'll see here. Neville is all over the back of Koadromo. And I can't help but think maybe Dromo pitted right then to cover off. What he saw was, I don't want to say the superior strategy just yet. I'll let you know about the 30-minute mark. But
That story will unfold.
Absolutely.
He and his teammate have a sandwich here. I believe that's his teammate just behind him there in the other Mercedes. As Neville is sandwiched between the two of them with the Aston Martin. And they will see if they can. Obviously, with Koa first coming back out of the pits, he's got to get the tires fired back up. It doesn't take long if you don't change the tires, obviously. So about halfway through that lap, he should have been back up to speed, and it looks as if he is now. We'll see if he'll be able to pull a gap now, as there is nobody really holding him up in front of him. He's got about a 10-second gap up to 21st place, which is Mr. Archie, our silver driver, who has not pitted yet.
So we are currently on board in the picture here. Dromo's teammate passes, and on entry, he really closes up to that Aston Martin in front of him, but it seems the Aston just walks away on the straightaway. So anxious to see how this will play out, because it doesn't look like Neville's able to close the gap on exit to that Mercedes in front of him.
Those Merc brakes are strong, though. No question about that, right?
Speaking from personal experience, I have had a Mercedes who I thought was just going to follow me through the braking zone, pull out, outbrake me, hit the apex better than me, and get a better drive out. So I think wrong might be a bit of an understatement.
No question. I had a driver dive underneath me in the practice race last evening as well, and I have no idea how he was able to get it slowed down and inside of me and around the corner and get it a better exit speed than me. But then again, like I said, I don't think I belong in D2, so we will see what happens. We may have a vehicle switch coming up. You never know.
Yeah. EBD.
So we do see now as what just happened right here. I kind of looked away for a second, and Koa overtook Lehman. Was Lehman coming out of the pit lane there?
Lehman was coming out of the pits, yes. And it looks like he might lose. No, Neville's going to tuck him behind through this sweeping right-hander. Maybe
Still a close battle.
No.
Yep, he had to break down, and he might try the switch under here. This is a tricky set of corners to try to overtake through here, but it does look like Lehman is still struggling to get the tires fired back up after slowing down and going through the pit lane as he tries to follow Koadromo. Koa making a getaway here as everybody else kind of gets slowed down by Lehman behind, and we have a close battle for these positions here. Now, granted, this right now is showing on your screen as the battle for 21st through 24th, but realistically, these guys have already pitted, and everybody in front of them is yet to pit. Now, granted, we only lose about 30 seconds in this pit stop if you do it perfectly. So if the gap is more than 30 seconds back from the leader, then the leader will still stay ahead.
So in a perfect world, if Nordstrom gets a perfect pit stop, he would come out in front of our, let's call it our lead of cars who have pitted.
Yep.
He would come out in front of Koadromo.
Yep.
Whereas Clemanger here in 5th place, if he gets it perfect, would come out behind and straight into this battle where they're separated by a few tenths right now.
That would be a tough spot to come out. Just getting your tires fired back up and you come out into a 4-car battle, it's going to be very tricky as we continue to try to see if Neville can work his way around Lehman. Lehman is placing that car perfectly to not give him a gap to put that Aston into as they continue to lap very close to one another through these tricky set of early section corners that you get just a little bit offline through here. You can lose an awful lot of time. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that battle. And it looks like Manning has started to lose a little bit of gap at the front.
Neville just had a serious moment into the switchback corners. Had to cut the track there.
I saw that in the background here. Looks like he got a little bit up on the curbing as he entered the first part of the corner. Oh, the back end just came a little bit on him, and he had to steer out of the corner to save it. Cut across the track and lost. Looks like he just lost one position, or did he lose another here into the hairpin? Yep, he also lost another. Yep. Fell 2 positions, but was able to hold off the Audi behind him and continues to race now in 25th position.
Yeah, I think I showed you a great replay from the Monday night practice race that I think we could send over real quick to him to show him how to save that rear end. So switch back. You just stay flat out and hope for the best.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. When in doubt, flat out, right, folks?
Yeah, right. All right, let's regain our focus here real quick.
Good point in the chat. First time in history somebody has been slowed down by Lehman. That's a great point in the chat. Thanks for bringing that out. One of our strong contenders who is new for this season is, and I believe he's raced with us before, I hadn't seen him before, is Andrew Rados. And he was extremely quick in the practice race. And I believe, took the pole in the practice race. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat.
You're right.
I don't believe a lot of our top contenders were at the practice race, though, too. I don't think Manning was there. Or no, Manning was there, but he got disqualified. There was some kind of problem with where he started. Like he was it clocked him as speeding on the start, which there's sometimes some issues with the way ACC start works, and occasionally you'll get false penalties off the start of it, which is unfortunate. But Manning definitely would have been challenging him for the lead. But Alvarado is hanging with him pretty well right now. Alvarado currently has our fastest lap with a 140.86. How he's doing that with full fuel in the car, I'll never understand. But he is trying to chase down Manning up there out front. He's gotten the gap down to under a half a second now.
Yeah, about a tenth between them. And last lap, looks like Alvarado might have been pushing a little too hard. He did get a track cut. I'm unsure if that is going to be one of. So again, for our new viewers, you were given 3 track cuts, and that is deemed to be where you cut the track or go outside of track limits and you gain an advantage. You get 3 of those. Next one is a drive-through penalty or a stop and go 30. Can't remember.
It's a drive-through for the track cuts. Yep, speeding in the pits is a stop-go 30.
Okay. And however, if you go outside of track limits and you don't gain any time, your lap time is just invalidated. So if you're clever about it, you can cut the track and not receive a penalty for it, essentially.
Yeah, if you just happen to get a little bit offline and you don't stay fully on the throttle, you can avoid getting an actual track cut penalty, if you will, if you're close to that mark. But you do get 3 of them for free.
And I will say, I do agree with that rule, because there are situations where you need to go off track to avoid, a car stopped in front of you, or you start to lose the rear end and you need to catch the car and it takes you offline and takes you outside track limits. So I don't disagree with the rule, but there are cases. Let's see, what's a good track to come to mind? Spa for instance, you can really abuse those limits. So
You
it's not a
certainly
perfect
can't.
system.
You certainly can't abuse them at Coda. That's for sure.
Still have nightmares.
Ugh. That was our qualifying track for this season, if any of you folks aren't aware. But it is extremely hard to put together a set of 5 laps around that track and be as quick as possible without incurring one of its very, very tight and stringent track limits penalties. And it's extremely frustrating when you're on your 5th lap of a hot stint and you cross the line by just a tiny bit, and then you got to start over again.
Yeah, I think we've all fallen victim to that. I've even went to the replay before, because especially exiting the S's on your way down to the back straightaway.
Yep.
That is probably the most notorious, I might say.
Yep.
At least for me.
I had a problem with that one last season, and this season I cured it because I was just so afraid of it. I never went close. Alvarado has closed this gap up to Manning. He is going deep under braking there, though, and that'll lose him a little bit of time on the exit. But he seems to be digging into Manning's lead and wanting to challenge him, and we may have a race developing here, folks. I hope you tuned in for a race. I sure did. We also have another battle further back here for 13th place. Rust is putting some pressure with the Porsche behind the Aston as they battle for 13th spot. And it looks like Louis is entering the fray there behind as well.
Let's see here. Down here in the picture-in-picture, I'm already regretting my decision. I was going to ride on the rear wing with our reigning champion, Travis Nordstrom, as he tries to hold off Flamanger here in the Ferrari. But that rear wing on the Porsche sits rather high, and it doesn't even look like anybody's behind him on the track. But I promise you, Flamanger is back there about a half second off. So we're right on board here with Flamanger here. See if he can force an overtake.
Yeah, he lost a little bit of time through there, but he's still within a second. As we continue to watch Rust put some pressure on Drebs here for 13th position, as the gap out front has stretched to back over a half a second. But Alvarado continues to push, and at certain points he gets under a half a second gap, and we'll try to monitor that closely for you guys. We wouldn't want to miss a pass for the lead. Oh, let's see. Crown and Schwartz swapping positions back here. Looks like they may go 3 wide into the final corner as he comes back on and they make contact. No, he's into the wall. And that was a major, major misstep from...
Oh, no. And here comes...
Oh, wow. There's carnage all over the place from this one, folks. And that was quite the misstep from a few of the cars here, as we get a quick replay of it. They make contact as he tries to get back on track. They were going to go 3 wide through this kink, which was not going to work out anyway. And then a couple other cars come through there and are making contact as well as they fight for position. Unfortunately, it looks like our big losers out of here are Crown and Schwartz, as they both teleport back to the pit lane with damage to their vehicles.
I will say real quick, though, I think Schwartz had every right to be there. I think maybe Crown didn't know he was there and started to come over and take the racing line. I don't have to watch it one more time, but it's terrible to have a race in that way on your race of the new season.
Yeah, you do get a drop race, but you definitely hope to not have that be your first race. You like to keep that till later in the season, that's for sure. Manning has stretched that gap out front again to over a second now, so he seems to have moved as Alvarado continues in second place. Spangler is about 2 seconds back from that in third as they cross the line here, starting the next lap. Our reigning champion, Travis Nordstrom, is hanging in tough in fourth place, about 2 seconds further back from there. Flamger's less than a second behind him in his Ferrari. Mr. Sir, further back in the BMW, as his teammate leads the race. He's bringing it home in 6th. Seemed to get a little loose on the rear end through the first corner there. Rado's putting some pressure on him from behind in his Honda.
Yeah. I think we were just on board in the picture-in-picture here. We watched the BMW of Mr. Sir there just get really loose. I mean, I'm sure he short-shifted.
Yeah, he must have done something pretty dramatic to save the rear end because it looked like it was stepping way out of line on him.
So that little incident where we saw the two McLarens have their incident, and then I think it was Schwartz who was slowing down.
Yeah, he was trying to let the car back on that he had wronged, basically.
Right. So Dromo came through there in the Mercedes and to split those two cars there, that had to be awkward for him. And that cost him 7 seconds. He is now 38 seconds off the lead. And let's see here, that would put him about P8 right now if everybody in front of him were to pit. So he went from a provisional 4th or 5th, depending on his lap times, throughout the rest of the race.
Yeah, who else?
In 4th position.
Who else came through there? There was somebody just behind him. Oh, it was Lehman. Lehman also went a little bit wide there, trying to take avoidtive action through that corner as well. He must have lost a little bit of time as well. As I'm sure it was a little bit nerve-wracking. That corner, you're right on the edge. As Maxie was talking about earlier, if you turn in just slightly too early and catch that inside curbing, there's no way you're going to survive the exit of that corner. And also, if you try to carry just a little bit too much speed and you get out and your outside wheel touches the grass, the car is going to very easily spin as he negotiates the corner we're talking about perfectly that time. Thank goodness. He finished his lap out here. It looks like Wheeler has decided to throw it into the pit lane and take his chances with going further back. He is one of our silver drivers, and we will keep an eye on where he comes out, but it looks like he will tumble pretty far down the order with that pit stop. Perfect pit stop, though. Only stopped for a little bit less than 5 seconds, and he's back and underway.
Yeah, that whole situation there. So Dromo was followed by Lehman, and Cassis, who is Dromo's teammate, was following Lehman and couldn't seem to find a way around him. Well, that situation allowed Cassis right by Lehman. And now Lehman's chances of getting by Cassis here are probably pretty slim because Cassis is going to be defending for his teammate as well.
Yeah. And Dromo and Cassis are looking pretty strong in those Mercedes anyway, as are front runners of those who have pitted. So if they can continue to put in good lap times here, as they do still have an 8-second gap in front of them, so there's no traffic impeding them at all.
Mr. Stern to the pits.
Ah, yes, he does decide to dive in the pit. We'll keep a close eye. He's pitting from 6th place, so it'll be interesting to see where he comes back out. He should be right in this pack we're watching right now, basically.
It's going to be incredibly close. He has about another 10 seconds to go in the pit lane. He's back out onto the track. Oh my goodness, a 28-second pit stop.
Wow, did he do that perfectly or what? That is the fastest pit stop time we have seen yet tonight. Yeah. As usual, Mr. Sir is a machine when it comes to his sim racing chops, and he did come out right here in front of Koa, so he does take the lead of the cars who have pitted.
There's actually Archie between Mr. Sir and Koa Dromo.
Yeah, one of our silver drivers slid in there, but Koa is making up gap on Archie like crazy right now, and he will be impeded by that driver pretty soon, so his fresh track putting in clean laps here is going to end shortly, and he has not made up enough time to challenge our leaders yet, as a little bit of team orders looks like here. Switch positions.
I did not see that coming. I mean, based off of their fastest laps, I mean, there's 2,000th in it, so.
Something must have made them decide that was the wise decision. As we switch over to another battle here, as Russ continues to pressure, he's just been that close for most of the race as these guys try to sort out who will come home in 12th place. Oh, and he's wide. They're going to go 2x2 into the final corner. Rebs has the inside. Will Rust make it stick around the outside? It looks like if he gets a good exit here, as the Porsche is known for, he does. And let's see if the Aston has the speed to overtake down the front straight, as it usually does have a higher top end. He decides to go around the outside as Rust protects the inside coming into T1. And it looks like Rust will hold on to this position as long as there's no major oversteer on exit.
Oh, wow.
And it looks like he gets a little bit twitchy there coming off the corner, but he will continue to, and now look, he dives it in deep and it activates the spotter there on the inside, continues the battle, and the car behind him gets a little loose as well. We got all kinds of action on screen for you folks right now.
Through this corner.
And Drev just will not give up that position. He will not.
They touch.
And they touch a little bit coming through the long sweep right, which pushed him a little wide, but he dives inside again on the next corner as they continue to go side by side. Coming up to these next two corners, I would think there is no way they're going to continue to be side by side. And sure enough, they drop in behind, and Rebs finally concedes the corner.
DeBrez might have a run up to this corner, though, because he backed out of it.
Oh, and he comes in so close to making contact with the rear of that car. As the Porsche had to slow down just slightly more. The Porsche, not a high cornering speed car, but it has great exit speed. So it makes it very difficult to overtake on the straights, but a lot of times can be overtaken if you get a slot in on the entry to the corner. And all this action has piled up the cars behind them, though. So now we have basically a four-way battle for 12th position building here. Or sorry, excuse me, for 13th position. Or yeah, it is for 12th position.
Yeah, it is 12. You got it right.
We will continue to monitor that as
the gap out front has closed to a half a second. Alvarado is pushing.
Alvarado's bringing it back down again, and he seems to be able to bring it down. And then I think you were onto something earlier when you mentioned, dirty air will have an effect on you through some of these sweeper faster corners. And I think that could be the thing, is once he gets within about a half second, it's difficult to stay there.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially to the picture-in-picture right now. That's who we're on board with, is Alvarado. You can see him start to lose some time, and I can't help but think that is the understeer, and he's having to stay out of the throttle, wait for the car to turn in, and then get on the power, because down the straightaways and under braking, Alvarado has the pace, but Michael Manning is able to keep that gap perfectly through the sections leading up to the overtaking opportunities.
That's the goal, as we have another close battle developing back here a little further down the field with our silver drivers. We got Ryder, Troxler, and Vasquez here as they pile up quite a gaggle of cars.
Oh my.
And we see the battle here for 24th place, as Samito is out front, Ryder behind him in 25th, Troxler in 26th, Vasquez in 27th, and Durant's bringing up the back end in 28th position in his Mercedes. Now, he, I believe, was one of the top qualifiers, but I think he did slip to like 4th maybe by the end of qualifying. Correct me if I'm wrong there. It's hard for me to keep straight where everybody finished qualifying because it was jumping around really fast there towards the end, but it seems like he may be able to make time through this pack.
I'm thinking he was 3rd or 4th in silver. So
yeah, I think he fell to 4th place just at the end of qualifying when guys put in some late, very fast laps. As this continues to be our most entertaining battle on the track right now with all these cars, the closest gap we're seeing out there. We do have the other battle further up with about 3 or 4 cars involved, but that seems to be spacing out. Louis still keeping a pretty close eye on Drebs here, as he seems to be really struggling with the rear end of that Aston now. He might have pushed really hard to try to get back around Rust after he made that little bobble. And through the long sweepers especially, I've been seeing the rear end of that car get a little loose on him. So we will continue to monitor that. He may have burned the rear tires up a little bit, pushing hard, trying to get in that position that he lost back.
And just to kind of bring all this back into perspective for everyone at home, is this battle for 24th position, that is a top 10 battle right now. Just going based off of our ideal pit stop time. the strategy here. And let's see here. We have Louis diving into the pits right now, actually.
Does he decides that pack's a little bit too tightly packed for him, and he might be able to make better time if he jumps to a different position on the track. Nixon and Marecki have closed the gap pretty close here as well on O'Brien for 20th position as they make their way around the end of this lap here, and they start another one.
No, I can't help but think, if I was Alvarado right now, and I had access to see pit stop times, I would pit right now and hope that my pit delta was just a hair better than Manning's. Because, again, when you come into your pit box, you're in a new car, the reference to where you have to stop changes. Sometimes you're looking for all 4 arrows. Like in the McLaren, for instance, you can really see almost the ground in front of the nose. So you want all the arrows on your pit stop marker. Whereas I did a few laps in the Aston Martin earlier today. You can barely see the bottom of the first marker.
Yeah.
So Michael Manning transferring from that mid-engine car that has a lower nose to a front-engine car that has a very high nose. He misses that pit stop area just a little bit. That might cost him a half a second. And that would give Alvarado a chance to overcut Manning in the pits.
Yeah, it could be a strategy. If I was Alvarado, though, I would be concerned. Pitting right now would drop you in about 12th position, and you would be behind a silver class driver right there. And the lap times they're running are more than a half a second slower than 3/4 of a second slower. So he would make that gap up quick, and then that silver driver has every right to defend his position. He doesn't have to hand it over just because a gold driver is behind him. So if he got slowed down by that and Manning continued to have clear track out in front of him at the front, I believe he would build the gap.
Yeah, in hindsight, I do believe you're right. And it looks like Carpenter has an incredible run right now in Nate Spec.
Carpenter has been closing this gap slowly but surely. He's been keeping it right around a half second, and he will dip under a half second a few times around the lap. That Ferrari continues to just be fantastic under braking. If you want to see a car that slows down quick, that is it. And so he will close on that BMW under braking in just about every corner on this track.
And it is so bizarre, too, to think that those are both V8 cars. That they should have the same drive out of the corner, but thanks to the balanced performance that not only SRO has set forth for the GT3 series, which we have a pass here.
Side-by-side racing as Danny Durance gets alongside Vasquez, and that's a silver driver overtaking a gold driver as he is going to make this pass stick, it looks like, as he has the inside through the long sweep left, and then he cuts over and immediately protects the inside line into the next corner. Fantastic driving on him. He gets a little wide on the exit, though, and gives the position back as Vasquez did not panic and just counted on the brakes and speed out of his Mercedes to overcome that deficit as they both get a little loose coming into the final corner.
Durance might need to watch behind him here real quick.
Yeah, now Wilson's closed the gap right up behind him as he hunts for an opportunity as these two battle it out. Fantastic racing out of both of them as they have not made any contact, and that's always good to see as he searches for a way around here, going deep on the brakes on the outside in T1, tucks it in and keeps it on the outside. Now he will have the inside coming into the next corner, and this is a very tricky corner to keep the outside on. I will be surprised if he's able to run around, but he seems to be doing it. Those Mercedes very evenly matched. Fantastic way to give space, and yes, this has allowed Wilson to close right up on the back of their bumper now. It seems like Vasquez is struggling with his straight line speed. I don't know if it's a setup issue or if there's something happening with, perhaps he's at a pedal issue of some kind, but Durance just seems to be able to close the gap out of him coming out of just about every corner.
Yeah, that was, you wouldn't expect coming out of T1 there, the outside to maintain the side-by-side. You would expect the inside line to gain a little bit, but it almost looked like Durance was making up time up into turn 5. So that was very bizarre.
Indeed. Durance continues to keep that gap very tight as they finish out this lap, and we will see if he mounts a challenge again as he lets the tires cool a little bit after that hard racing. It's always going to make the car work a little bit harder when you are off the racing line and have to, you're obviously pushing it to the limit, trying to get that overtake done so you can get back to your normal racing line.
And I mean, the amount of space they were giving each other there.
Mad respect.
You had to be inch perfect. Exactly. I mean, it's the level of respect here that these D1 drivers give one another. I mean, you don't get it anywhere else. I've had incredible side-by-side racing here at SRA, and I think only in the wet has it, gone the wrong way for me. But
even then, it's at that point, it could just be a mistake. Like, it's hard to
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we give each other the room here, and you don't get that. I cannot emphasize that enough. Nowhere else in the sim racing community will someone give you the space knowing good and well they could lose the position.
Yep. Because that's what you have to do when you're racing for real, and that's what this community is about, is building a good, realistic racing experience.
Absolutely.
Taking a quick look at our silver battle, we have Carpenter, who's out front. Now, he's closely watched by Lau, and it looks like Drebs is dropping into the pits as we look at this. He's one of our silver drivers as well. Like I said, he seemed to be struggling with the back end of that car, so he might have decided to go take a cool down. Now, Carpenter is ahead of Marecki, who is our top pitted silver driver, and he is ahead of him by just about 24 seconds. So if he can stretch that gap just a little bit further, he will maintain the silver lead when he does come in for that pit stop. As of right now, though, even if he gets a perfect pit stop, he will not maintain the lead, as Drebs looks like he's having some troubles here after his pit stop. That's fortunate for him. It looks like maybe those rear tires cooled off and didn't like it. Let's see if we can see what happened here. It seems like he might have just lost the rear end coming out of the first sequence of corners after the pit stop. Yep, sure enough.
There it goes.
He must be running a very loose setup on that Aston, but unfortunately he kind of tapped the wall there. It doesn't look like he would get too much damage from that incident and gets it back on track. Unfortunately, it looks like he will continue in 29th position from there.
Just to go back to that silver battle you were referencing. So Carpenter has been stuck behind Specht for numerous laps, and last time I checked, the gap from Lau here to Carpenter, it was about 3 seconds.
It's definitely closed down.
It's under a second now. So Carpenter needs to get by Specht here, because just going based off of their last lap times, Specht is having to invalidate to stay ahead, and Carpenter has plenty of pace. But I mean, down the straightaways, that BMW is almost untouchable.
Oh, we got corrected in our chat just a little bit ago. The 296 and the M4 are both V6 cars, not V8s. Is that correct? Somebody check me on this.
The Ferrari is definitely a V8.
And it looks like we got some chimes in from the chat as well, though, that spin looked like a zero traction control kind of spin. Whether he turned it off specifically for certain parts of the track or for the pit stop and then forgot to switch it back, or if he was running a zero TC kind of situation, which a lot of these top level drivers will run very low or even with no traction control. and that will allow them to get that extra speed out of the car.
So I would like to go ahead and announce my resignation as a commentator.
No, you can't quit.
Both of those cars are indeed V6s.
All right, now that we cleared that up.
Yeah, man, that is awkward. But anyway, back to the racing action real quick to cover that up under the rug.
Yeah, sweep that under there.
Trollo and Casas here just switched positions again.
All right, so
sure.
they continue to kind of just play team games, it looks like. Are they just taking turns drafting off of each other somehow to save fuel, or what's? I mean, I don't understand what the strategy is here.
I couldn't imagine they're that hard pressed for fuel, but I mean, right now both of them would come out. Let's see here, when the leaders in front of them pitted 7th and 8th. So they're looking really good for a top 10 finish here, which is standing for the team battle. Every little position will matter towards the end of the season.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. I'm learning things from our chat right now that the Ferrari 296 literally stands for 2.9 liter V6. So.
Oh, okay. I'm sure someone in the chat can answer. The let's see here. I think it was just a 360. That was a 3.6 liter V8, and then you had the F430, 4.3 liter V8, and then you had the 488 replace that F430. Was that a 4.8 V8? Is that when they changed the naming? Leave that to the chat here.
It's the truth, Bailey.
Yeah.
Bailey Cash is just roasting you tonight, bro. He's roasting both of us.
That's totally fine. His voice is buttery smooth. He's an even nicer guy. So
yeah.
I'll take it.
I mean, he picked me up from the airport. I'll give him a pass. He does pretty good.
Yeah. He's not commentating D2 though, so I'm a little salty. Hey, Adam Laveau, Raph, and Bailey Kish commentated my first season here at SRA. Fell in love with their voices. Got lucky. They commentated D4 when I got promoted. And Bailey Kish was unfortunately racing on the D3 nights. So didn't get to hear him, but Adam Laveau and Raph. But this season in D2, it's going to be none of those guys. So.
Well, we'll hope for a fantastic broadcast team either way. Everybody here at SRA that volunteers does a fantastic job, so I'm sure we'll still get the coverage we deserve. And the fact that anybody's willing to watch me on a camera drive a race car still is kind of mind-blowing to me. So I'm good with it no matter who does the coverage.
Well, I don't know if it's just my dad being a dad, but I mean, he'll tell me after he watches the races that, you know, he can't tell the difference between this and cars that are actually going around a track. So, and even driving it, we were at the 24 Hours of Daytona. It feels, for some reason, it feels real.
Yeah. It's cool, too, how much you can identify when you go to a track. You can identify with what the drivers are going through, especially with the multi-class stuff and watching, when the GTP cars are overtaking the GT3 cars. You genuinely know what that feels like, and you can put yourself in the driver's shoes quite a bit better than if you haven't done any sim racing.
You know, Michael Manning looks like he is really struggling with the rear of this BMW right now. I've been riding on board with Alvarado for a few laps now, and out of every single corner, there's happened to be a little bit of counter steer.
Mm-hmm. And Alvarado's kept that gap now under half a second for most of the lap. So keeping it a little bit closer, just hoping Manning gives him a gap that he could possibly take that lead position from him.
Wide.
It's at this point, you're going to pretty much come down to the pit stop. If one of these two does not get a perfect pit stop, the other one's going to come out front, and we will see if that develops. But we could still have some on-track action if Manning's rear tires continues to degrade, which it kind of looks like is happening right now.
Yeah. That V6 is really putting some torque down.
A good
Coming out of the
emphasis on the
corners.
engine size there. Excellent work.
Yeah, out of the corners, the Honda looks so planted. I mean, he can just get straight on the gas, power down the straightaway. Oh, yeah. So Manning right now is having to trail brake even through the fast right-hander. So that is a sign that those tires are going off. He's not getting the same turn in that he wants.
Mm-hmm.
This is gonna.
Specht dives into the pits. Marecki and Carpenter. So that battle's decided now, as Carpenter did pit and come out behind Marecki. Some guys in our chat caught that. Thanks, guys. And we'll keep an eye on this battle out front in our PIP as we kind of scan through the rest of the field to see what happens. It looks like Specht has come back out in 19th position, but he's getting challenged very closely there by Neville, as that Aston continues to have fantastic power and speed. It just seems to be able to dominate that BMW in just about every facet of the track. Once they get on the straight line, the BMW seems to be a little bit able to pull away, but looks like Specht has got that car back up to speed now.
We have a really good battle right now developing for P16. So we have O'Brien and Nixon, teammates, right now in the Audi, followed very closely by Specht, who is just pitted. Excuse me, sorry, Marikai in the Aston Martin. I'm really anxious to see how the Audi is a lightning bolt down the straightaways. Anxious to see here if this Aston can make it happen in the corners, but it's been 2 or 3 laps now, separated by about a half a second between the three. Everyone's really spaced out right now. Pretty much perfect. There's
All running their strategies right now. We're down to under 10 minutes left in our race now, as we still have quite a few of the top runners that have not pitted. Just about your top 10 still need to make their pit stops. The top 10 that you see on your screen there. As I said, most of the front runners will leave it that way. They'll leave this pit stop with it when we're in this strategy where you just got to take the splash and dash. You don't want to risk getting caught in the slower traffic further back. So if you're running with the fast boys up in the top 10, you want to just stay there until the very end of the race. And then a lot of times, even at the very last lap, we'll have guys dive in the pit lane, take care of that required pit stop, and hope they do it perfectly to come back out in basically the same position they left it.
Yeah, so currently, it's looking like Travis Nordstrom really needs to pick up the pace, because Mr. Sir is about 31 seconds off the back of him. So,
yeah, he could be losing that 4th spot.
Absolutely.
He'd still come away with the top 5, but if he wants to challenge for that championship again this season, he is going to need to go faster than that. These D1 boys don't mess around. If you are caught sleeping, you will pay for it. It looks like we are having somebody lose a bunch of positions back here, as I think Coadromo had an issue of some
yellow,
kind.
Black. Let's see here.
Now, is it him that had it, or was it something else? This is weird. It looks like he had like a disconnect.
Yeah.
And then
my picture just switched back to the battle I was watching. That is strange.
But so he didn't fully disconnect. It looked like the server just kind of lost track of him there for a minute. He's back in now. He's still in 13th place. Hasn't lost any time or positions. So thankfully that sorted itself out and no harm done. Rados now is building a mountain of charge here on Flamger in the closing laps, as he's closed this gap down to under a second, as he brings that Honda onto the back end of that Ferrari, and we will see what happens with that battle. Mr. Sir is closing in on Patrick Rust also. Now, Rust, a silver class driver. He's holding down second in silver class right now, but that could change quite a bit because him and Lau both still need to pit. And I believe Marecki will come out in front of both of them after their pit stops.
Looks like Alvarado had a bit of an issue last lap.
Yeah,
Lost
he
that
fell back.
half a second and invalidated. So I'm thinking through the switchbacks, probably had to stave it and cut the track a little bit. But he's already closing right back down to Manning. So it just comes down to that dirty air.
It does. We're riding on board now with Rados. His first season back with SRA in a little while, and he is massively closing this gap on Flamger here in the closing laps of this race. And we'll just take a quick tour around him. I know a lot of our viewers enjoy the in-car shots, so feast your eyes on this, folks, as we get a first-person view of one of our top-tier drivers trying to chase down the position in front of him as the race time dwindles down. He's placing that Honda pretty perfectly right now. Looks like he might have done some tire conservation and has a little bit stronger tires as, oh, that's,
Okay.
yeah. So
Right in.
Flamger dives to the pit lane. Rados stays out. He is yet to pit. So we might see that battle decided right now. If Rados puts in a hot lap right here, we very well could see him overtake just purely on the fact that he's able to put in a hotter lap while Flamger is stopped in the pit lane.
So right now in the picture-in-picture, we have Mr. Sir on Rust. And so Rust dives into the pits. I think that was a smart move because Mr. Sir was eating into that gap something fierce and probably would have had him down into turn 2.
It'll be interesting to see here where Rust comes out. Marecki, I believe, will be our silver class leader based on the fact that Rust and Lau will both pit and come out behind him. Yep, so Marecki has already gone by and gained the first spot silver above Rust. Lau, still yet to pit, is currently your silver class leader, but that should change as soon as he hits the pit lane. But it does look like he would fit into second place or come in very closely at least.
If he nails his pit stop, he could come out just in front of Carpenter, but he's going to need to nail that pit stop.
Further back in that silver battle, we have Meeks and Ryder going side by side here, looking for a way around. Ryder very close to the back end of this BMW in front, trying to find, gets a little loose on the exit of that corner, loses some time down the straightaway. Let's take a ride on board as he goes through this fast right-hand sweeper here. Just a quick downshift to get the nose tuck in, lift and back on the throttle there. Just a tiny bit of brake probably at this point in the race with the tires going a little bit off. Hard braking in this corner, throw it in, back on the throttle. Down this short little straightaway into the left-right combo to head up the hill towards the hairpin. A little bit on the curving there, gets a little bit loose on exit.
He had battle shaping up all over the place.
Looks like
So
Wilson
21st,
and
22nd.
Drev
go ahead.
switch positions here. Let's see if we can get a replay of this. They were racing side by side for a moment here.
So Lau's in the pits. He's obviously going to drop by America.
A little bit of
Will he
contact there, but Drebs pulls out the position at that point. And Wilson now has dropped back a couple of positions as Wheeler also made it past him. It looks like Wilson might even had a little bit of an issue there shortly after that. Let's see if we can go back. Yeah, he did. He went off the track for a moment. So right after that battle, he must have just been a little bit offline and gotten off. All right, so back up. Lau did, as you were saying, fall behind
He's only
Marecki.
3 seconds off Marecki, though. I mean, just going based off of the lap times that Lau was putting in, mid 41s, he could be on him.
Not much time left.
Not much time, yeah. Yeah.
At this point, wherever you come out, so Manning is in the pit, Spangler in the pit, Alvarado inherits the lead of the race. Let's watch Manning's pit stop here. He should be less than 5 seconds. Stop stationary. Get out your stopwatches, folks. This could decide the race right here.
We will ride with the pitcher-in-pitcher for Alvarado, who will have to pit this lap. And we might get a photo finish into the hairpin turn 2.
Now, the pit window does end 1 minute before the end of the race, so hopefully he makes it back around. He should make it back around plenty of time to get that pit stop in. But it has happened where guys leave it too late and don't quite make that pit window. And it's a tragedy to see people's race end that way. Robinson also coming out of the pit lane. Rados as well pits, comes back out in 6th position, still behind Flamger that he was challenging, so he did not overtake with that faster lap while Flamger was stopped in the pit lane. So Manning in 2nd place. He's about 24 seconds behind Alvarado now. So Alvarado would have to have... Yeah, it almost seems like he built the gap because Alvarado's going to take about 29 seconds in that pit, and Manning must have had one heck of a pit stop. Yeah, he did do it in 28 seconds. That's the fastest pit stop time we've seen tonight. So
is it when you enter the pit lane or when you exit the pit lane? Because if it's when you exit, Alvarado here is going to get DQ'd.
It's when you enter. As soon as you enter the pit lane, you've begun your...
Okay.
So he is in the pits now, fulfilling his requirement, and he is within the pit window. He entered the pit lane in the pit window, and Manning is coming through our final corners.
We are on board in the pitcher-in-pitcher. Coming down the main straightaway. Oh, it's not going to be that close. He's going to have a nice gap here.
We're riding on board with Alvarado, and he has to watch Manning drive by on the track, and he has lost quite a bit of time. Manning did that pit stop perfectly. Alvarado actually lost another 2 seconds doing his pit stop about 2 seconds slower his total time lost in the pit. So that pretty much decides our P1 unless I'm not even going to say it. So we will not see that tight of a battle for our P1. We do still have Rados trying to chase down Flamger as our time runs out on the race. They do have to complete the lap they are on here. So this will be our final lap as Manning slings it around the last few corners for the final time. And, oh no, sorry, he's still early in the lap. So we got about half a lap to go for him, and we will conclude this race. Fingers Casas is trying to make a run for 9th position here.
Rados right on the back of Flamingo here, about half a second.
And Cran close, not too far from Dromo either. Marecki, a civil class driver, is close to Jordan Nixon as well. And we got a few other close battles. Meeks and Ryder back here, a close battle with Louis for 21st position. And further back even than that, for 27th position, we still have this 4-car battle basically here, but only the front car, Wheeler, actually looks to be able in an overtaking position there at all, as they are rounding out the first part of this track there. Let's switch back to our leaders as they finish. Your winner of race 1 of season 10, Michael Manning, as he brings home a fantastic race performance, pretty much led from start to finish, qualified on pole, and led an error-free race. Alvarado chased him all evening, but could not find a way to crack that egg. Spangler bringing it home, 3rd. We didn't talk about him much, but he ran a very solid race there in 3rd place. Previous season champion, Nordstrom, as he rams into the wall after the finish, he brings it home in 4th place. Flamger bringing it home in 5th. Rados does bring it home in 6th. Mr. Sir bringing home 7th place. Kodromo, solid 8th place finished with Dan Cran close behind in 9th. Fingers Casas rounds out your top 10 as our rest of our drivers come across. We don't see too many position changes here. We do see one. Wilson, it looks like, overtook Drebs here on the final lap. Let's see if we can get a replay of that.
We got 3 wide right now. Oh, excuse me. There's a little bit of delay there.
Sorry about that, folks. So it does look like Wilson gained that position back from Drebs here in the final corners of the race, and they will finish just a little bit. He'll finish in 29th place. So that's it, folks. That's a wrap on your first race of the season. Brooker Quigg already back in the pits. He did finish in last place. I believe he had some problems early on, and I don't think he even got back out on track at one point. Zeeler also, we saw as he finished up his lap, he was involved in that incident early on in the race, and he will be looking to use this as a drop round more than likely to hopefully do better throughout the rest of the season. And with that, folks, we have completed race 1 of season 10 for Division 1 here at SRA. Thanks for tuning in this evening. We are going to get some interviews with some of our drivers on track as we wrap things up for this evening. And thanks for sticking with us. Let's see who we can pull out of our drivers' chats and have some good conversations with here. Maxie, you got the chats up? You see anybody in there you really want to chat with this evening?
Let's see here.
I don't see a ton of people in the D1, D2 race chat yet. A lot of these guys are so focused on their racing, you know, they don't necessarily go in the race chats until they're done, and a lot of them need a bio break after that hard of a session. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Sunset Racing League, thanks for the raid, man. Thanks for joining the stream. We just finished our race coverage of our first race, and we're gonna do some driver interviews here. But thanks for the raid.
Yeah, I'm not saying we're getting a few years on it by any means, but after an hour of being in the rig, you do have to go handle some business.
No doubt.
Afterwards.
No doubt about it.
I'm checking the chat here to see if anyone pops up.
I see a couple people. Spangler, our third place driver, is in there. We could start with him. And a few more people piling into the chat now as they start there. And there's Manning, our race winner.
I'm going to grab him real quick.
Okay, we'll start with our race winner this evening. Let's get him moved over to our race, our Twitch booth, and give him a shout out.
Word.
Michael Manning, this is Dudley Do-Right in the booth. Can you hear us all right?
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, fantastic start to your season 10 here. It looked like a flawless race from our perspective, qualified on pole and pretty much led the whole thing. Give us a rundown how it felt from your perspective.
Yeah, really just trying to do exactly what I've done all my practice laps. It's pretty happy with how this thing felt in the race. I knew it had the top end, so I knew it would be a super hard card pass. I've been setting good qualifying laps, so I just needed to keep on doing what I was doing. I came through in qualifying, and the race, I just needed to keep it clean. I just needed to make sure I stayed ahead of Alvarado for basically going into T1. I was feeling comfortable. I think my pace was a little slower than both Jeff and Alvarado, but we made it work.
Were the rear tires there on your Beamer starting to give up on you towards the end of the race? We noticed as Alvarado was closing that gap down to about half a second, coming out of the corners, it looked like you were getting a little bit loose. Was that you just trying to, stay ahead, get on the throttle a little earlier, or were those tires starting to give up on you?
I think I need to do more practice laps on old tires. I think I was on just too high of a TC for how worn those tires were. It seemed, the Honda's great on corner exit, so it wasn't a surprise that he'd keep on catching up there. Like, it was specifically like last corner in the hairpin.
Mm-hmm.
He'd get insane time out of both those corners. I think it's just up to I had the TC activating too much, so I think I have to experiment with something lower for next race. And I think a lot of my pace is simply just there, just in corners.
Yeah, you definitely going off of last season alone. You knew all the tricks that the Honda had to give, so you had a bit of insider information there to, give you a little extra comfort while he's putting that pressure on.
I'm really surprised with how he could keep his pace up. That car can be quick, but man, I don't know what his rear tires are at, and I don't know how he kept that thing on track. He made like maybe 3 or 4 mistakes the entire race, and he just caught back up from all of them. So
yeah, we caught one of his mistakes. We didn't see many mistakes out of you. Do you feel like you pretty much performed exactly how you wanted to, or is there something you would change?
Yeah, no, I did exactly what I wanted to do. Honestly, if anything, I think I should have done a little bit more race prep rather than just full quali laps. It worked out, so it's okay. But I think there was a little something left to be desired with race pace compared to my quali pace.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
And-
the quality pace worked out for you, man. I mean, right off the bat, you were running mid 141s with a full tank of fuel. So, fantastic job with the race laps out there, and fantastic job on your first win. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to while you're here on the top step of the podium?
I'll shout out Jason Allen. He's been struggling with his power recently because California, but it's unfortunate. I hope he can race tomorrow. Jeff had a great result. I'm really happy for him. And my teammate, Mr. Sir, he kind of got off to a rough start in the BMW, but he picked it up that race. He did well.
Yeah, you ended up finished 7th. It looks like, so not bad.
Yeah, really solid. Anyway, yeah, that's all.
Max, you got anything else?
Well, yeah, and I just want to congratulate you here on the opening win of the season, and good luck for the remaining races. I know we're gonna see you back up here again and get to talk to you again. And
Oh yeah,
just great performance as always. I mean, just absolutely clinical on how you handled everything. No mistakes. Great race.
Nice work, man. We
Appreciate
got a
it.
week off next week, and then we're headed to Snetterton. How do you feel about that track?
I've only ever legitimately done laps in the P Cup ever at Snetterton. I've never driven it in a GT3 car, so it'll be something new, but we got time to learn, and I am vibing with this car, so I'm feeling good.
Fantastic, man. We'll be looking out for you 2 weeks from now when we get to see you guys out there on the track again. Congrats again, man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Hope to see you guys again.
I'll throw you back in your race chat, and have a good night.
Have a good one.
All right, that was your race winner, Michael Manning, as he put together an awesome performance tonight, taking the pole position and leading all the way through to his first the win of the first race of season 10 as he pursues the season 10 championship. He was a strong contender last season, and we look forward to seeing him more. Next up, we're going to bring in Nicholas Alvarado, who chased him around all night but couldn't find a way to get past him. Let's hear what he has to say. Nicholas Alvarado, this is Dudley Do-Right up here in the booth. Can you hear us all right?
Yeah. Can you hear right?
Hey, man, thanks for joining us, and fantastic performance tonight on the race. Looked like you were trying to find a way past Manning all evening there, but it never really worked out. Tell us what it looked like from your perspective.
Pain. Absolute pain. Because every single time I would get close to him, my downforce would disappear. There's no chance at all. So I would drop back. But I was fast, so I would get back in, but lose it again. So it was gain, lose the whole race. So I kind of made a last-ditched effort at the pit stop and risk it all, because if you're not first, you're last. So if I got it right through, it would have been worth it, but I tried. I pitted at 0.00. So if I was any bit slower on the aim lap, I'm going a drive through or a go.
Yeah, we noticed that. It was real close to that. And we did also, it seemed like exactly what you said. So we were calling that one right up in the booth. Thanks for making us look good, because it did seem like anytime you got under a half-second gap to him that your front downforce would suffer a little bit and just couldn't keep it through the longer high-speed corners. Is that what it felt like?
Yeah, no, the fast right-hander, I think it's called Sunset, turn 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
The car would refuse to turn.
Yeah.
So I had to take either the outside line away from his dirty air, or brake really hard and brake and accelerate at the same time, because if you brake and turn at the same time and I have no downforce, the car will try to die. The rear will go around, so I had to be really careful every single time I was behind. So really frustrating race, and I just need to qualify P1 for this to not happen again.
Yeah, I mean, absolute great race. Again, I've experienced what you felt before. following somebody, knowing, you're just that, half a second quicker, but you can't make it happen on track. Did you ever think about kind of throwing a fake dummy down the inside? I've never driven the Honda, so I don't know if it has the ability to.
But the BMW has better top speed and better brakes, so I cannot outbrake the BMW.
Right. Okay.
So that was really tough. It's really tough to overtake.
Yeah, you can't throw a dummy on.
My best
someone
chance
like that.
was to keep as close as I could and try to pressure him into a mistake.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen. So that's really good on morning. So props to him. He didn't make any single mistake. I pressured as much as I could. I got 3 warnings trying to set better exits, but it was impossible. Even with a better exit, I was just down on top speed. Nothing I could do to overtake without his mistakes. So,
Well, you put together a great race.
Fantastic race, man, and congrats. You did take the fastest lap of the race with a 1:40.862, so congrats on that. You do get the extra point for that, and a second place finish to start off season 10. Hey, man, I wouldn't shake a stick at that.
Yeah, so I guess with the I know the BMW was a bit faster than the Honda today, so I know that if we are in a bit better equal conditions, I should go faster. So I need to keep working on keeping that gap.
Well, here in 2 weeks, we come to Snetterton, so I think that might suit the agility of that Honda a little bit more. So if you can keep up that same pace, I think we'll be interviewing you from the top step of the podium.
I hope so, but last race, I had a race on Snetterton actually this Sunday, and I heard I relied several times, so I need to keep working on that.
A little more practice needed there. All right, we hear that.
We will see.
Hey, do you want to give anybody a shout out while you're here on the podium?
Yeah, obviously. So shout out to my friends, to Andrew, my teammate. He had a solid race. He had the same age as me. He was stuck behind cars. Obviously to my friends and girlfriend that are always watching my races. So let's get that W next race.
Fantastic, man. We'll be looking forward to you fighting for it.
Thank you, boys. Take care.
Hey, good result tonight.
All right, we will send him back to his race chat, and we will pull in. Jess Bangler finished 3rd place, but I'd like to give some attention to our silver class drivers if any of them are in the chat. So if Mr. Marecki has made himself available anywhere, there he is. Let's pull our silver class driver winner in. Eric Marecki, this is Dudley Do right up here in the booth. Can you hear us all right?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you great, man. Thanks for joining us. Fantastic race you did this evening. You took home the silver class win. Tell us what it looked like from your perspective out there.
All I saw was the back of Nixon's car the whole race, pretty much. I don't know why I followed him into the pits after lap 1, but I did. I came out right behind him and then spent the whole race behind him.
Hey, that's not a bad guy to follow, though, is it?
No. I had a couple of chances, but I was always a little bit too far back. And I guess welcome to D1. You don't get quite the mistakes like you do in D2.
No doubt.
Yep.
What did you think about the comparison between the Aston Martin and the Audi as far as straight line speed, cornering speed, that kind of thing?
Well, I always felt like I was catching up in the corner and on the sweepers where you're kind of dragging the brake. I could always catch up to the back from there, but as soon as we got to a straightaway or I had to use that tall first gear, he would just drive away. I'd claw back a little bit towards the end of the straightaway with the draft, but I was never close enough.
Yeah, still put together a great race. You won silver tonight. You have a great momentum to carry through to the rest of the season for that silver championship. As far as the Aston goes, where did you kind of feel like you were losing some pace? Was it just kind of those corner exits, or was it anywhere else?
Yeah, any of the tight corners. The last one.
Just
Dude, I don't know the number. I should look.
yeah.
I think the
Neither do
last
I.
one's
Don't feel
corner
bad.
16. There's 16 corners on the track, so last one's got to be 16.
Yeah.
Any of the corners that I really had to use first gear, he would just pull a couple of car lengths on me. And there was no magic I could do with the traction control or my right foot to give me any more go. So I just had to hang out behind him, follow him around, hope he could pull me with him, and jump over some of the guys coming out of the pits.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes all you got to do is apply pressure, you know? I mean, pressure either bursts pipes or it makes diamonds. Tonight it didn't go in your favor, but I have no doubt going forward, things are going to go your way because excellent drive tonight. I don't think we saw a single mistake out of you. So great drive, great result for you.
Thank you very much. I hope it stays this way for the rest of the season.
Well, speaking of the rest of the season, we got a week off next week, but then we're headed to Snetterton. How do you feel about that track?
I probably haven't driven that track in a year. I'll start hitting it hard. If we got a week, I'll hit it hard, or an extra week, I'll hit it hard, and I'll figure it out. I'll try to keep it on the track and do the best I can.
Well, we have faith in you, man. Your D1 drivers never disappoint, whether you're gold or silver class. So, is there anybody you want to give a shout out to while you're on the top step of the silver podium?
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to Kelvin. We had quite the battle in D2 last season, so let's hope we can keep that going. Also give a shout out to Brian, my teammate. I was hoping we could be a little bit closer, but I think he got stuck behind a train with Tomato in it. So it was a lot of looking at the replays. It looked like a lot of guys were following nose to tail, couldn't really get around each other. So
yeah, there was about a 4-car battle there for 20th position for most of the race.
Yeah. Well, that makes it fun. So.
Sure does.
Absolutely. Do you think that is track specific to Kyalami because of the long straights and such, or do you think that's down to the new update?
As far as what goes?
Following nose to tail, because typically we'll see gaps kind of form throughout the field, but tonight it seemed like there was just almost groups of 4 or 5 cars that were battling. They just couldn't make inroads on anybody.
Well, I kind of feel like some guys were out of place in qualifying. So
Okay.
They ended up getting stuck behind guys that you tend to see them ahead of usually. And then, I don't know, it's just, it was kind of hard to pass. You know, you get stuck in that train and then you end up running the same rhythm over and over and over, and you forget that you could actually go a couple of tenths faster.
Right.
If you had the room. But as far as the new update goes, I think they did a relatively good job balancing things out. I feel like so far I felt like we had a lot of close battles. Looking at the hot lap leaderboard before the race, there were a lot of guys pretty close to each other. But that also could just be the talent in T1. So
I mean, from first back to 28th, I believe, was 1 second. So, you know, that's what, 500ths or so?
Yeah,
Less than that between drivers?
Yep, that's pretty good.
Pretty tight sim racing, folks.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, thanks for joining us in the booth here for just a little while, and fantastic job in your race tonight. We'll send you back to the race chat and hope to see you again up here soon.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Hey, no problem. Congratulations.
Thanks.
All right, I think we are running short on time, folks. We usually try to wrap up around 11. Sorry we didn't get to Jeff Spangler as he finished 3rd place in our gold drivers, but we wanted to give our silver driver winner some recognition tonight and found him in the chat. So thanks so much for the interviews that we were able to get in, and thanks to everybody who tuned in tonight. Maxie, concluding thoughts on this race action?
I'm very anxious to see. I know Snetterton's a very tight track. I want to see if these trains, these gaggles that we saw tonight, is going to be, the norm moving forward, or if it was just kind of an outlier due to the track layout of Kyalami. The new update obviously throws in a lot of variables. I know a lot of the suspension variables, especially on the Porsche, the Audi, and the Aston Martin in particular, were changed. So I'm not sure if that brought the field closer together. And what we saw tonight, let's just go ahead and say the top 30 drivers were separated by a second. If that's a consequence of the new BOP update, I'm just, again, excited for another D1 season and watching these guys put on an absolute show and keeping everybody on the edge of their seat till the last lap.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to it too. Thanks for joining me tonight, Maxie. Thanks to everybody else who was in the chat. And thanks so much for the participation from all of our sponsors and supporters here at SRA. And we will see you again, not next week, but 2 weeks from now. We will have our broadcast from Snetterton as we continue the drama here in Season 10, Division 1. Have a good night, folks.